Hi, I'm Terri Blackstock. I wanted to tell you about my new book, If I Run, which is coming out February 16th of 2016. I'm really excited about it because it's a little different than what I've written before. I know that people who love my books are probably thinking, no, don't change anything, but I've changed things just a little bit to keep things interesting for myself, really. And when people ask me what I'm working on, I always tell them, uh, since I've been writing these books, I tell them that I'm writing a book about a female fugitive because I usually don't like to talk about whatever book I'm working on. But saying it's a female fugitive kind of answers the question because, I'm a big fan of the movie The Fugitive with Harrison Ford, and then the TV series that there have been a couple of TV series that have come from The Fugitive, and I love the idea of the husband, whose wife was murdered, being accused of the crime, and then he goes looking for the famous one-armed man, as when he breaks out of prison, and I just love that kind of movie and that kind of book. And so I wanted to take a young woman who is 25 years old, and she's winsome, and she's beloved by all her friends, and she just loves people. And she discovers her best friend dead. He's a guy named Brent, and she finds him dead. And when that happens, she leaves her DNA all over the crime scene, and she realizes it. And because of some things that have happened in her past regarding justice and injustice, especially, she doesn't want to call the police. She doesn't think that this is going to go well for her. And so she takes off running and she hides. And so through this whole series that I'm writing, Casey Cox, my character, is going to be in different towns, having different adventures and kind of happening on different crimes as the police and a special investigator are trying to catch up to her. I love the special investigator. He's a war veteran. He's 30 years old. His name is Dylan. And what I really like about him is that he's this damaged character. He came back from the war with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And because of that, he's not able to get a job in law enforcement, which is what he's trained for and what he did in the Army. He was in the Criminal Investigation Division. And he really wants to continue his work in law enforcement, but because of his PTSD, he hasn't been able to get a job. And he's having the same kind of issues that most war veterans have when they come back with PTSD. It's an invisible affliction. It's something that we can't see. People can look absolutely normal, but it greatly impacts their lives to the extent that many of them commit suicide. They wind up divorced. They have trouble with all their relationships. They can't get jobs or hold jobs. It's something they can't control because it's a real affliction, a real problem, and it can be worked through, but it takes therapy and it takes asking for help. And so my character Dylan is a Christian man who is just not able to get past this problem in his life. And he's tasked with the job of working as an independent contractor to find Casey Cox and bring her back because he believes that she's the murderer. But as he researches her life and digs into what makes her tick and who she is and where she could be, he begins to understand that she may have PTSD as well, and their lives begin to intersect, and he realizes they have more in common than he thought, and that she doesn't really fit the profile of a killer. And so he's not sure if she's a psychopath or if she's a suffering victim. And so he goes looking for her. And, I have different adventures in these books. I have things that Casey kind of falls into, subplots where she's trying to solve a crime because she feels like if she can't be a hero in her own life, then maybe she can be one in someone else's. And she's a selfless person, and she loves people, and so she often tries to get outside of herself and her grief and her fear by helping other people. And so, each book will tie up the plot that is in that book, but I will have this running plot that goes through the whole series, during which Dylan is catching up to her. He's getting closer. The police are also getting closer. And Casey has this fear and really a deep-seated belief that if she's caught, she won't just go to prison. She's going to be murdered herself. And she has good reason to think that. So I'm really excited about this book and the book I'm working on now, which is called If I'm Found. And then the third book will be If I Live. So if I run, if I'm found, and if I live. I hope you'll look for it. You can pre-order If I Run right now. You can go to my website and see the book trailer for it, or you can read excerpts on Goodreads, and I'll have all that information on my website that you can see and look for it. It's gotten some really good reviews so far, so I'm really grateful for that, and I just hope that you'll really enjoy the book. Thanks.